Hello, this is Yaakov Kronenberg from Jerusalem, and tonight we'll do another class on Scorpio ascendant with Mars and the different signs. Tonight we're going to do Mars in Aquarius. Mars in Aquarius is another interesting combination. In one respect, it's like Mars in Capricorn, that it's in the sign of Saturn. Right? It's in the masculine sign of Saturn, as opposed to Mars in Capricorn, which is in the feminine sign of Capricorn. So it gives a more outgoing nature, the Mars in Aquarius. Right? Even though the ascendant is feminine, since the Mars is masculine. So it's interesting, if you look at it, the Mars is going to, by nature, it's going to square the ascendant. Right? Because they're 4 signs away. Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius. It's a 90-degree aspect. And 90-degree aspects, by nature, are Martian. Right? In other words, let me go over this very quickly. Conjunctions are the nature of Mercury. Sextiles are the nature of Venus. That's always, Venus is a positive sign, and so that sextiles are considered a good aspect. 90 degrees are Martian by nature, and they're conflict, right? The 2 planets fight each other. 120 is a trine, a good aspect. The planets work together in the same element, and that's Jupiterian. And the 180s are oppositions, and they're the nature of Saturn. Total conflict, pushing against each other, each one like stubbornly fighting the other, opposing the other, and preventing the other from fulfilling itself. That's the Saturnian nature. I have a whole class on the theoretical system behind this, and you can look in my library and find it there. So when you have an example for something like a chart like this, where you have Aquarius, Scorpio rising, and Mars in Aquarius, so then Mars is going to square, Mars is going to make an aspect to the ascendant. So that already makes Scorpio is 1 times Mars. The aspect of the ruling planet being in Mars is a second Martian. Mars being square to the ascendant is a second connection of Mars to the ascendant. And then the square aspect between them is a 3rd type of Mars. So it's like Mars times 3 on the ascendant. So it makes the person very Martian. Very much a fighter, very much a person who is Martian by nature, Martian spirit, and they'll use that Martian spirit connected to the house that Mars is found in, and the sign that Mars is in. So Mars being in Aquarius is going to be more of an air sign, so there's going to be an interest in things intellectual, especially. Aquarius is more the deeper of the air signs, because it's connected with Saturn by nature. And so you also have to look at Saturn in the chart to see how Saturn is connected with Mars. And when you have a planet, the ruling planet in the 4th, there's going to be a strong attachment to the home, the family, and also to the past. That's another thing that, it's also connected today to DNA. It's connected to your genetic background. I find a lot, if you have, like, say, 4th house in the ruler of the 4th and the 7th, it could be the 4th and the 6th, there could be genetic problems at birth or health problems that are connected to genetic problems. I've found stuff like that. I've been working on that, doing some research on that lately. And it's very involved in history too. What came before, right? The one of the questions you should never ask is what came before, what came after. So in any case, that's a person who gets into very involved in the 4th house affairs. in what came before. I think I did once the horoscope of the great kabbalist Shlomo Eliashev, and he also had this combination. He had Mars in Aquarius, Scorpio rising, and he wrote his masterpiece, Sefer. That was like 900 dense portfolio type pages, where he talked about what came before, how the world was created and why it was created and how everything was set up, and he devoted his whole life to that. Tonight we'll see a man who is not on that level at all, but he also had an interest in things mystical. But in any case, there's going to be a very interest in the question of what came before. Right, so you'll find like doctors that have it, that are specializing in genetics and things like that, DNA, people doing research in that, people interested in the past, historians, people that, that want to bring back older traditions, that are interested in older traditions, and all sorts of things in that way. Tonight I'm going to do the horoscope of a man, a Jewish man. Both his parents were immigrants from Russia. They went to Britain, and then at an early age his parents moved to America, and to Washington D.C., and he studied at the Library of Congress, and he had a Hebrew tutor even that taught him Hebrew, and his name was Israel Regardi. And he was very interested in occultism and magic and mysticism and astrology and all sorts of things like that. And he was one of the people who, I guess he has an influence on what we call today the New Age movement. He was one of the founders of the Order of the Golden Dawn, which was like a magic circle and mystical circle in England in the early 1900s, run by Aleister Crowley and some other people. And he wrote a book that revealed all their secrets when the group disbanded. He wrote a book that revealed all their secrets, and had a big influence on New Age movement and stuff. He even wrote books on, Kabbalah because of his Hebrew knowledge, but it was more like, it wasn't, as far as I can see, it wasn't real Kabbalah. It was more, like the Western Kabbalah, the Kabbalah that was taken more from the Christian sources and things like that, and really from the Jewish sources. That's what it appears to me. And anyway, so with that Mars in the 4th house, so he was a big writer, though. He has the Mars square he has Mercury right on the ascendant, so he must have been very bright, and he has the Mars square the ascendant and square the Mercury. So he wrote, so you see the connection with writing already, when the ruling planet in an air sign, and it's connected to Mercury on the ascendant, so there's going to be a lot of writing and a big interest in learning, which was very evident in his chart. He had this, also the Mercury was connected to the Sun, conjunct the Sun in the 1st house. So it brought him fame and mysticism, because they're both in Scorpio, connected with mysticism. And the Mars is opposite to Jupiter, if you look at that. So Jupiter is religion, and Mars is fighting. So he's fighting to prove his... he was very much a publicist of trying to prove, the things that he learned. He wanted to convince people of their rightness and things like that. And so you see that with the Mars Jupiter is always a person who pushes they can be religious fanatics. They can be fanatics in whatever they believe in. That tends to be the Mars Jupiter type of person, and so you see that in his chart also. And it was a strong chart actually, because it's so Martian in nature, right? Because the Jupiter also squares the ascendant, which a square again is Martian. So there's a Martian relationship between Jupiter and Scorpio ascendant. And he had the very powerful Neptune. If you look there, the Neptune in Cancer in the 9th house in religion, philosophy. And we don't understand that generation from the early 1900s when they had that Neptune in Cancer. It made Neptune very, very powerful, being in a water sign, because Neptune's nature is water. Like for example, me, I have a super powerful Neptune. It's exactly trying the ascendant in the 9th house, conjunct the moon, but it's in Libra. So I don't really, it's not as strong as someone who, say, has the Neptune in Cancer. Super, super powerful. Makes the person very interested in, when it falls in the 9th house, in mysticism. And so I thank everybody for listening.